So we'll do some of that in the next few weeks because we're kind of coming to an end of a milestone here with the end of the textbook. And it's nice to take some time to reflect on the journey we've had so far and as we begin to make preparations for the journey just ahead. So we'll be reading chapter 31, section 6. And I'll let you know that this very much builds on what we read over the weekend, self-concept versus self. There's several direct references to that section. So you can see this in some ways as just the next set of ideas building on that concept. You might recall earlier in chapter 31 that we read these words. Happiness is never found by following a road away from truth. To you who seem to find this course to be too difficult to learn, let me repeat that to achieve a goal, you must proceed in its direction, not away from it. This is a simple teaching in the obvious. All learning is a help or a hindrance to the gate of heaven. Nothing in between is possible. And so with that, we'll begin our reading for tonight in section 5. And David, thank you for being our reader.
There will come a time when images have all gone by, and you will see you know not what you are. It is to this unsealed and open mind that truth returns.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm bringing in the last paragraph from the previous section. Sorry, David. Bringing it, we haven't begun section 6 yet. David's reading the last paragraph from section 5. I'm sorry.
I start again.
Yeah.
There will come a time when images have all gone by, and you will see you know not what you are. It is to this unsealed and open mind that truth returns, unhindered and unbound. Where concepts of the self have been laid by, is truth revealed exactly as it is. When every concept has been raised to doubt and question, and been recognized as made on no assumptions that would stand the light, then is the truth left free to enter in its sanctuary, clean and free of guilt. There is no statement that the world is more afraid to hear than this: I do not know the thing I am, and therefore do not know what I am doing, where I am, or how to look upon the world or on myself. Yet in this learning is salvation born, and what you are will tell you of itself.
Mm-hmm. And so all of that hinges around when every concept has been raised to doubt and question and has been recognized as made on no assumption that can withstand the light of truth. When that happens, then it opens the mind as a sanctuary for truth, clean and free of guilt. And that's where we're headed tonight, is how to have an open mind, clean and free of guilt. What does that process look like, David?
You see the flesh or recognize the spirit. There is no compromise between the two. If one is real, the other must be false. For what is real denies its opposite. There is no choice in vision but this one. What you decide in this determines all you see and think is real and hold as true. On this one choice does all your world depend. For here have you established what you are, as flesh or spirit in your own belief. If you choose flesh, you never will escape the body as your own reality, for you have chosen that you want it so. But choose the spirit, and all heaven bends to touch your eyes and bless your holy sight, that you may see the world of flesh no more, except to heal and comfort and to bless.
Mhm. So they're going to elaborate further on what he's talking about here about not seeing the flesh. That will be elaborated. So let's not jump to conclusions about what that means just yet. But do notice it says that when you do choose the spirit, that you will still see the world of flesh, but only for the purposes of healing and comfort and blessing. So what you see will be repurposed in terms of healing, comforting, and blessing, not seeing the flesh for other purposes that may have served an older agenda. So as Jane clarified, and it will clarify later, it's not that you can't see anything, it's the way you look at it, the way you perceive it, which is an interpretation of what am I looking at? I'm looking at someone that needs my blessing. I'm looking at someone that I can be helpful for. It's a repurposing. And when you, it's amazing because this happens all day long with every encounter. It's a choice of what you will purpose you have in mind. And on this choice, does your entire worldview depend? For here, you established what you think of yourself as. And based on what you think, this is self-concept versus self, your true self. If the way you think of yourself determines what you perceive out in the world. So your sense of purpose is the driving factor here. If we lack that purpose, then we default to the common and ordinary way of the ego. And I think everybody here understands what that implies. Let's go on. Oh, I skipped one too many. David?
Salvation is undoing. If you choose to see the body, you behold a world of separation, unrelated things, and happenings that make no sense at all. This one appears and disappears in death. That one is doomed to suffering and loss. And no one is exactly as he was an instant previous, nor will he be the same as he is now an instant hence. Who could have trust where so much change is seen? For who is worthy if he be but dust? Salvation is undoing of all this. For constancy arises in the sight of those whose eyes salvation has released from looking at the cost of keeping guilt, because they chose to let it go instead.
Mm-hmm. The power of decision is my own. And what we now realize is that we placed our power in the flesh, in seeing things through the ego's eyes. And now salvation comes along and it undoes all that. The habit we had of perceiving through the ego's worldview is now being undone. Salvation really doesn't do anything. It undoes the mistake of putting your attention and having your purpose be identified with the learning of this world. And when you undo that learning, undo the concepts of this world, constancy arises in your sight, because now the salvation has undone the ancient prison, undone that view, And the eyes of salvation now releases you from guilt and lets you choose to be free instead. So this is an theme that will echo again and again tonight. Salvation really doesn't do anything, but it does undo the mistakes that have been made with an emphasis on they were mistakes. They were not sins. They were innocent children make mistakes, and we're just correcting those mistakes. Let's go on. David.
Salvation does not ask that you behold the spirit and perceive the body not. It merely asks that this should be your choice. For you can see the body without help, but do not understand how to behold a world apart from it. It is your world salvation will undo and let you see another world your eyes could never find. Be not concerned how this could ever be. You do not understand how what you see arose to meet your sight, for if you did, it would be gone. The veil of ignorance is drawn across the evil and the good, and must be passed that both may disappear, so that perception finds no hiding place. How is this done? It is not done at all. What could there be within the universe that God created that must still be done?
Mm-hmm. So this paragraph really is key to tonight's reading and bears time invested to understand it. So repeating the idea, salvation, it's not asking that you don't see a body. As Jane said, how can you function? You couldn't even make it through a supermarket if you didn't see other bodies. So that's not what it's asking. It merely asks that you should choose to see the spirit instead. And using different language, it merely asks that you see through the eyes of your soul instead of through the eyes of the flesh. For it's really true. Your physical eyes do not behold the Holy Spirit within other people. It's your inner sanctuary of your being that recognizes these things and then projects that perception outward onto people. You don't really, the mechanism of how that works, we're told, be not concerned how this could ever be. You don't understand how it works. For if you understood it, the practice would be gone. So understanding the mechanism of how your interior world is projected outward onto others and you see the Holy Spirit in them, that understanding will come later on. For now, it's the important thing is that you choose to see others, not with the eyes of the flesh, but with the eyes of the Spirit. And then this second part echoes what we read yesterday. The veil of ignorance that has covered us in confusion and ignorance and guilt is drawn apart across what we call evil and what we call good. The good self, the innocent self, as well as the guilty self. The veil of ignorance hides both, and both must disappear so that you be free of the judgments that perception entails. If you're ever to reach that point where you are free, then the veil of ignorance must be drawn away from both the things that you judge as good as well as the things you judge as evil. But how that's done, it's not something you do at all. It's not really a doing, it's an undoing. Salvation is an undoing. And because what needs to be done has already been done at the beginning of creation and certainly does not need to be done again. What we need to do is undo the learning of this world. So let's take a comment here. Richie, thanks for your patience.
Yeah, hey guys, I came in a little late and I finally found you guys in the book, and I feel good being with you. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I'm going through these changes. It's almost a state of inertia. I'm not wrong. I don't have that manic energy that I once had. That thing of uh, always trying to entertain myself.
Mm.
And I just don't seem to need that, but it's completely foreign to me. I feel like I'm some invisible person with eyeballs. I don't mean to be funny. I can see the world, but all I'm seeing is the world, and I'm not even seeing myself. The physical part of me is not important. So it's a I don't know if there's a psychiatric term for that, or is this part of the process? But I don't see much of my ego the way I once did. I think I did. I think I said less self-absorbed
Yes,
through this. It's a
that's a,
state. I guess it's a state of depersonalization. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid to walk out my door, even though I'll do it, of course. I'm completely foreign to myself.
yes. You're in the in-between worlds, Richie, and this is a familiar state that people go through. Trust that you're being guided by someone who knows the Holy Spirit, who knows the way.
Yeah, like when I did drugs, I felt that way, but I was taking an external to take care of an internal problem.
Right.
This seems to be working, and it's just completely foreign to me.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Julie, you had your hand up.
Yeah, the sentence in here that really hits home for me is, it is your world salvation will undo and let you see another world your eyes could never find. And this is such a beautiful statement because I think it's really interesting that it's coming in chapter 31, although it's been said, as we go along in so many different forms, but it really captures, and I think we're ready for it by this time when we hear that. It really captures the course's curriculum and agenda. It's that we don't know how we did this thing to make this world, and it's really beyond our understanding. So I think, the course is really telling us that you can get salvation from that world that is going on there in front of you. And then we're not left with nothing. We're left with another world that our eyes and our minds, could never really produce. And we get this gift. So I just really like that. I wanted to share that.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you. We'll go on. David?
Only in arrogance could you conceive that you must make the way to heaven plain. The means are given you by which to see the world that will replace the one you made. Your will be done. In heaven as on earth, this is forever true. It matters not where you believe you are, nor what you think the truth about yourself must really be. It makes no difference what you look upon, nor what you choose to feel or think or wish. For God himself has said, your will be done. And it is done to you accordingly.
So this paragraph was a little tricky. I had a little exchange with somebody else about it earlier today. And I get that you and I deciding that we'll figure out how to get to heaven is arrogance. I get that. And I get that we don't have to understand because the means are given us. It's a gift to replace the world we made with the world of spirit. And then there's this line, your will be done in heaven as on earth. This is forever true. So I think this is the idea of we're not really doing anything. We are just simply relinquishing, Jane, we're unlearning the ego's teachings. And the things that replace it are gifted to us. The curriculum has already been formulated. We just need to learn to receive it. And the errors that we make, like where we believe we are, do we believe we're here on a planet in time and space, captured inside a body in an ancient prison? If that's what we believe, it really doesn't matter where you believe you are or what you think the truth about yourself is. So referencing what we read yesterday, confusion about yourself, it really doesn't matter. But what does matter is that we're oriented correctly towards the will of God. Your will be done. And it is done to you accordingly when we are oriented that way. Your will be done. Julie, did you have a comment you wanted to share?
Just, I kind of read that your as it's capital Y each time.
Mhm.
And I kind of read that as the capital S for self. So when I'm in that place, I think they're referring to, I think when they're saying your will be done, they're saying the capital Y referring to our self, capital S self.
I like it. I like it. That's what matters. It doesn't matter where you believe you are or what you think of the truth about yourself, but what matters is that you're oriented towards doing the purpose, the function that's given us by our higher self. Yeah, I like it. All right, let's go on.
You who believe that you can choose to see the Son of God as you would have him be, forget not that no concept of yourself will stand against the truth of what you are. Undoing truth would be impossible. But concepts are not difficult to change. One vision, clearly seen, that does not fit the picture as it was perceived before, will change the world for eyes that learn to see, because the concept of the self has changed.
It's a clear reference to self-concept versus self that we read over the weekend. So forget not that all concepts that taught by this world are meaningless. And certainly with respect to self-concepts, there is no concept of yourself that will stand against the truth of what you were created to be and what you truly are. These concepts are not difficult. Okay, here's what it says. Concepts are not difficult to change. Matter of fact, every concept you've ever had has continually changed throughout your life. There's no concept that you had when you were 10 years old or even 20 years old that has not changed. All concepts are changed. They're not difficult to change. What we need, however, is instead of a concept, now here's a new idea that we haven't explicitly talked about. We're going to get rid of all concepts, but what are we going to replace those concepts with? What we will call vision. It's a vision. It's the eyes of Christ, the vision of Christ. It's a vision not with eyeballs, but with your spiritual, soulful self. It's a vision that doesn't picture the world the way you used to see it. And the reason why it doesn't picture the world that way is because the concept of the self has been changed. You've let go of the way the world has taught. And as Julie was just referencing, your will refers to your supreme self, your spiritual self, the self that you were created as comes to take its place. And with that is a vision that is from beyond this world. So we will talk about this more again in next year. There's three ideas, 3 or 4 that go together: vision, insight, inspiration, and the light of grace, that all are referring to that state of mind that is towards the top of, that is at the top of the ladder of prayer, just outside the gates of heaven, where the false perception has been replaced by true perception, and there's a consistent viewing of the world there. Why? Because the concept of the self has changed. And when the concept of the self changes, the entire thought system goes with it. Okay, let's go on. David?
Are you invulnerable? Then the world is harmless in your sight. Do you forgive? Then is the world forgiving, for you have forgiven it its trespasses, and so it looks on you with eyes that see as yours. Are you a body? So is all the world perceived as treacherous and out to kill. Are you a spirit, deathless, and without the promise of corruption and the stain of sin upon you? So the world is seen as stable, fully worthy of your trust, a happy place to rest in for a while, where nothing need be feared, but only loved. Who is unwelcome to the kind in heart? And what could hurt the truly innocent?
The basis for all these questions is, how do you see yourself? How do you understand? Are you invulnerable? Do you forgive? Are you a body? Are you a spirit? All this is based on the way you regard yourself. What am I? What am I doing here? What is my function? What is my purpose in this world? And if you see yourself as David Welton said at the beginning, you recognize that you have always been a spirit, that you were created as a spirit, then the world is seen as stable, worthy of your trust, and a happy place in which we're just here to rest for a while. Nothing need be feared, but only loved. This is all available to you when we let go of our previous self-concepts and with it, the entire way we looked at the world, and make room in the sanctuary of our mind for this vision of ourselves as one with creation. It's a gift. Heidi?
Is it possible, I may not be asking this right, but if I'm walking with spirit, I experienced something really incredible today. I had to go pick up a prescription. And before I went in, I prayed and I asked the Holy Spirit to speak through me because I knew I was up against a lot of stuff. And as I was walking in there and talking to people and walking around, I almost felt like I was a Stepford wife. Like, can my body feel spirit in it? I didn't feel like I was ego. Am I making sense? I felt physically different at peace, like it wasn't me that was walking through the store.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Yeah, Heidi, so different people are going to describe that in different ways. And so I can offer something, but I'm not saying that's the way it is. People have described this as being kind of surreal. It's like not like anything like the reality that we were accustomed to. I know with myself, let's just say the default mode was anxiety and lack of confidence and basically fear. And then when that's gone, it feels very different. And yeah, also this goes to what we'll cover in chapters 1 and 2. Miracles are not being directed by your ego, they're being directed by Christ. And that has a different feeling to it. When you're trying to, when we are afraid, our ego wants to control what's going on and really overwhelm us with that. When all that's gone and we're being guided by Christ, oh, it's a different feeling for sure.
Okay.
And it's not one that most of us immediately recognize as normal. But I'm starting to realize this is what tranquility is, not having to be in control. Actually, it said it, what was it in the previous paragraph about a sense of trust, that whereas before we were constantly distrustful, now we see a world, it says it right here, fully worthy of your trust. It has a very different feeling state associated with it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Richie?
It seems for me, I tend to be a negotiator. And all those skills that I've learned about interacting with other people, selling and coming out on top, I'm throwing in all those tools. I feel like I'm unarmed. And what throws me off when the word God is mentioned, I understand the word creator, but for me, God was freight. It was transported from somewhere else. And the course is thrust as it comes from within. So I'm talking about an external that's really internal. And that's where the niche is, um, where I'm not sure if this is something out there created this, or is it inside of me? And I don't have to reach out there for something that's already ingrained in me.
Mhm.
So, and I'm with the course. The word for the course for me is to bring the subconscious to a conscious level,
Mhm.
to work that. But when the word God is mentioned, it's like saying, well, that's okay in the subconscious. We'll let that word in. We'll give it a permit, a special dispensation or something. And that throws me off because I'm not looking for I've had problems with proper, with capital letters all my life. And I and I understand some of the words are capitalized, but is it necessary? Or if it's in here, I don't need that.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's
so
I want.
this is part of the unlearning, Richie. We've all got baggage that we acquired that
Mhm.
left us in, not perfectly loving state. And so this is the role of unlearning, is to let all that wash. It's that those lessons, whatever we could have gotten from them, we've gotten, let them go so that we can make room for the lessons of today.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to go back before we go into the next paragraph. I want to go back to paragraph 4 and ask David to read that again.
Only in arrogance could you conceive that you must make the way to heaven plain. The means are given you by which to see the world that will replace the one you made. Your will be done in heaven as on earth. This is forever true. It matters not where you believe you are, nor what you think the truth about yourself must really be. It makes no difference what you look upon, nor what you choose to feel or think or wish. For God himself has said, your will be done, and it is done to you accordingly.
Okay, and then David, we're just going to continue right on.
Your will be done, you holy child of God. It does not matter if you think you are in earth or heaven. What your Father wills of you can never change. The truth in you remains as radiant as a star, as pure as light, as innocent as love itself. And you are worthy that your will be done.
This dovetails with what Richie was just referring to about the concept of a God as external versus a concept of God internal. And some people lean more one way or the other. It says here, it really doesn't matter if you think you're in earth or heaven. That's really not the essential teaching where you think you are. What matters is that you identify, that you choose salvation, that you choose to be guided by heaven, that you are willing to let that be your guiding star, that to be your uh, lighthouse to your life. And for the role that spirit has is already done. It never changes. The truth in you remains as it always has been. That part is taken care of. We say it in other places, the separation never really occurred. That part is stable. Truth is here. And all those concepts that we have, internal gods, external gods, I'm in heaven, I'm in hell, all those things are concepts that will change. And so here's a little tip, recommendation, is if you're going to hold those concepts, hold them lightly. Don't hold them like they are the final truth. If you persist in believing in concepts, hold them lightly, like, well, I'm working with this idea. This is the best idea I've heard now, until another one comes along. Concepts can change. They're meant to change until you finally realize that all salvation can be nothing more than escape from concepts. And when all that is been let go and undone, there is one thing that is certain that you will find is the inner presence of light within you that says, your will be done, you holy child of God. Oh, Heather, there's a clue right there. It's set. So the question we had earlier is when it says your will be done, who's the your? And Julie offered actually the insight. It's your higher self. Here it says it very clearly. Your will be done, you holy child of God. So your refers to the holy child of God. It does not matter where you think you are in earth or heaven, but what your Father wills of you can never change. And so we are only asked to let go, to undo, to unlearn all the concepts of the world that we've taught ourselves that would hold us back and limit us. And once we do that, then the truth arises in our mind of itself. And as we read yesterday, the truth will then teach you what you are. You won't learn it indirectly from the Holy Spirit or from a book or anywhere else. You'll learn it directly from the truth. Heather?
Yeah, that makes sense. No, and I love this last line confirms it. And you are worthy that your will be done. There's no way our ego can have a concept that we're worthy. It just cannot provide that. So it's like our true highest self. That's it. The self concept of the soul is that we are worthy. We're innocent.
Yeah, you see it comes full that. So I thank you, Julie, for seeing that early on. It took some of the rest of us more time. All these things come in waves. Like, I don't think I've ever read a paragraph in the Course of Miracles that was perfectly apparent to me the first time I read it. I think there's always these layers that come like seasons of time in a year that becomes brighter and brighter as it goes. So I wanted to leave you, that's all the reading in this section we're going to do, but leave you with this line from workbook lesson 353. Father, I will hear your voice. I will to hear your voice. I would hear your voice and find your peace today. for I would love my own identity and find it in the memory of you. One more time. I would love my eternal identity and find it in the memory of you. There's a relationship there between the memory of God and you finding your own identity. This is where why we need our minds to be a sanctuary of truth, clear, clean, and free of guilt, so that this memory can arise once again with no interference. And that's all salvation is. It's the undoing of the interference that would otherwise distract us and be in opposition to the truth. The truth will never come when it's being opposed by our minds. Heather?
Yeah, I just got a big piece that it is the exchange we make is our self concepts, our concepts of ourself, and what they give us instead is our true identity. It's like now we have an identity of who we are. Our whole life we're trying to figure out who we are, and we've just had these concepts that we've pieced together, and we give those over, and now they say, look, I would just want you to have your own identity of who you really are and always have been.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And it's the reason why it can't be taught, Heather, because our true identity as
Yeah.
created by God can't be symbolized by the concepts and the words of this world.
Right.
I mean, we use words like love is used so many different ways on this world. Like I love my iPhone and all. So those means of communication are inadequate. What we come to rely on instead is what's called direct communication of the truth.
There you go.
And that requires that there be no interference there. And so I'll just add this one line here. In my experience, I wake up in the middle of the night a lot. Actually, it's the middle of the morning, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And when that happens, my body's very relaxed and I'm not distracted by anything. There's no plans to go anywhere or to do anything. And so I find myself in a state of being able to receive without any worries or any preoccupation. And that has been my experience. I would love to have that all day long, but until my mind gets trained further, I'm happy to have it whenever it would occur. And it feels like there's no interference imposed by my own old thinking between between myself and the voice for God. And so it comes in more clearly. And I know I've have other people have shared that they've had this experiences and it was amazing for them as well. And so the goal here is to consistently be miracle minded so that these things happen more frequently. Like Heidi said, even when you're walking through a supermarket, and you're not in an anxious state, you're in a open state and able to perceive, to use the words tonight, to recognize the spirit in whatever activity you may be doing. Richie?
Yeah, hi. I was just reading about that, and that's like right on. And I'm glad because you're confirming something that I had a doubt, but I just couldn't figure it out. And the word is indivisible. There is no separation with anything.
Mhm.
And I remember Ed Mayer used to do a course years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, and he would go up there on the stage and be theatrical sometimes over Unity Church. It was great. But he said once, and it had to do with the word. He didn't mention the word indivisible. He mentioned a DNA, and he said every object, everything has DNA in it. It's just the way it's distributed.
Mm.
And that took me off the hook. I had a frame of reference.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when I'm doing that, my whole body chemistry changes. It's a shift.
Mhm.
And the energy is finer.
Mm.
And even now, when I'm in a point of contention, I seem now to get back to myself, and the expression isn't as strong as I once used to use. It loses its velocity, even when I'm at odds.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Thank you, brother. Okay, my friends, that's as far as we're going to read tonight. It's a quick night. Give you a chance to review some ideas on your own. We've got one more week to finish the textbook. And then that'll be in the first half of December, next weekend and Monday. And then when after that, in the second half of December, we're going to continue to have classes. This is a commercial for what's ahead. We're going to continue to have classes right on through till after the new year. We're not going to cancel any classes. So if you can make it, great. But we're going to have them nonetheless, and we'll be going over the workbook. I'm sorry. We'll be going over the manual for teachers starting in the second half of December. And the format we're going to do that, we'll do section 1 on Saturday, section 2 on Sunday, section 3 on Monday, section 4 on Saturday, section 5 on Sunday, section 6 on Monday. So I know not everybody will be able to be there for all that, but the manual for teachers is such that you can jump in and out easier with that material than you can anywhere else in the course. And also all the sessions will be recorded on video if you should choose to watch them then. So that's a preview of what's ahead. Hope you can join us during that time. In the meanwhile, please remember your will be done, you holy child of God. Your will be done. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
It did.
So-
Good night.
Peace and love.